Welcome to Date Yourself, the podcast. I'm your host, Amber, and no matter if you're married or single, I think the world would be a better place if we all dated ourselves. During this podcast, we discuss being unapologetically yourself, ditching the bullshit, and tuning into more peace by making joy a choice. Through listening to this podcast, you might create a lifelong glow up, just saying. It's time you start appreciating yourself more and date yourself. Are my standards too high? Welcome to episode 2 of the Date Yourself podcast. I am going to answer that question because I have talked about this with a lot of friends. I also ask myself that question sometimes, and it's really interesting. So my point of view is that you can get exactly what you want if you know what it is that you want, and you don't have to settle for anything less. And I'm going to explain why. I'm going to give you some personal examples. This one is going to be a little bit juicy. I'm well aware that these are my personal stories, so just know that this is also a vulnerable conversation, but I have this conversation with you because I don't want you to feel like you have to settle for something that you don't really want. I want you to get the best of the best because that's just simply what you deserve. And so that is possible. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my own manifestations, about my own fuck-ups, about other people's fuck-ups with me, and why I think and believe that you can get anything that it is that you want. Super excited to get into this. So first, before we are going to get started with that question, are my standards too high? I want to tell you about a really special meditation that I've created for you to really envision what it is that you want in your life. Because the question of what is it that I want is mostly answered with, I don't know. And I think that that's normal. But I also think that you can figure out what it is that you want, because if you know what it is that you want, you can get it. If you don't have that vision, if you don't have that picture for the future, it's really hard to manifest it. And so I want to help you to figure out what it is that you want, but not from like the ego, the mind's perspective, but from a soul's perspective. So what is it that your heart really desires? We're going to answer some questions about this, and I'm going to help you get some answers and get that vision. You also get a lot of other fun stuff if you download this meditation. You can find it in the description. It's called the Date Yourself Guide, and the meditation is called the Soul Vision meditation. So I hope you enjoy if you're going to download it. It's really fascinating to hear the answers of the soul and to be able to have that vision to go towards it. That's how I manifest. So let's get started with the question, are my standards too high? So I love to give the example of manifestation when it comes to a job. So I used to I still work besides my business because business is pretty unpredictable and I love working with people. Having your own business can be a little bit lonely, and so I don't mind also working for someone else besides my business. So I applied for this job in marketing communication without having any formal education on this. So I did not finish a study, or I did not have the proper requirements that some might say you need to have if you are going to work in that field. But I still got the job because I worked in my own business for 4 years. And so I showed up, I put everything that I had into like my interview, and then there were also some creative things that you had to make to show like what you could do. And I was so happy that I got that job, because a few years prior to that, I did not even believe I would get such a job because I did not have the right education for it, right? So that was manifestation number 1. There were a lot of parts of the job that I liked. But then I quickly realized that that was not the environment for me. It was a really big company and I was used to working in a small store or on my own, right? And this company had like so many employees. And they had told me this prior as well, but I was like, I don't even know what it's like to work at a big company. I just want to experience it, right? That seems really fun. And so what seemed fun to me, I go for. And so I had worked there, but there were just some issues that I ran into. For example, people talking behind each other's backs. Not great environment. Then also people being like very stressed out all the time. And I have had symptoms of burnout. I also saw those symptoms in my colleagues as well. And so there were all these things that I was like, this is not really what I want. I thought that this was what I wanted. And like I said, there were like a lot of facets of the job that I wanted, that I really loved. But for my mental health, I shouldn't stay there. And this is just my body communicating to me like, girl, this ain't gonna work. And so I wanted to push through, but like I was like, there has to be something better out there for me. There has to be something better out there for me. And so I already had like made my standards be way higher because I used to work at stores, and now I had this really like great job, but it wasn't it. And so I was so disappointed, but I also knew like if I can manifest this, I can manifest something better as well. And now I work for a lovely business owner. I do all the things that I wanted to do, but at a smaller scale. So I have a lot of responsibility. I used to work at that other job like under a lot of people who did also not really respected me in some cases. I heard later like my boss did not really want to invest more time and energy and money in me as well. So I'm really glad actually that I got out. I only worked there for 3 months, so saved myself from a lot of trouble, I guess. So now I work for someone who gives me a lot of responsibility, which I love being able to do and think up ideas and like actually execute them as well myself. I just love working on projects and finishing project and going on to the next and the next and the next. And that's exactly what I get to do in this job. So I actually have manifested my real dream job, but I first had to go through that experience that was not really what it was that I wanted. And this is what I call the climbing the ladder, not the corporate ladder, but the ladder of what you are available for. And so I believe that we have this contrast. We experience something, and then there are parts of it that we like and parts of it that we don't like. That's the contrast. And through learning about that contrast, you learn what it is that you don't want. And so I say, do have high standards. So I'm going to give you another example when it comes to dating. And warning, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus here. These are just my personal experiences. And sometimes like when dating, you don't really click, and you have to just find that out, and it can be lovely and wonderful. I've had some lovely dates as well. But I also had some contrast. I had more contrast than I wanted. And these experiences also taught me what it is that I do want. And that's why I have high standards now. So I'm going to give you some examples of why I think I have high standards and why I think that I am allowed to have those. So my contrast looked like people not wanting the best for me, which kind of presented itself as being jealous when I was shining my light, doing my thing, looking good. Them being pretty insecure about that, wanting to bring me down, claiming me, being jealous but not wanting to commit to me. Also like love bombing and then manipulation. Also unintentionally being the other woman. That didn't happen to me once, but 3 times now, which is not fun. Don't recommend. Like, no, thank you. That says enough. Like, no self-control, and that's how you respect the people that you care about. Okay. So that's why I want someone who is trustworthy, is direct, tells me what they expect of me, so I know what they expect of me and what I can expect from them. Clear, like the intentions are clear, and that's not so hard. Even if you're casually dating, I have this friend who went through like her whole phase. No shame here, but it's so complicated. I listened to her stories and I was like, okay. But she made it easier for herself. So she told these guys, like, I'm only looking for something casual. If that's okay with you, like, we can proceed. If we like fall in love with each other later on, that's fine as well. But just know, like, this is what my intentions are. And those guys were fine with it, and they had a great time. And then she did what she wanted to do. It can be like that. This can also be the case if you're seriously dating. To be like, hey, I'm not looking for something casual. This is what I'm looking for. If that's not what you're up for, like, that's okay, but then we're not going to do this, right? I know that being clear with your intentions can be this scary thing as well. Like, I have had these complicated situations as well because I did not ask them for their intention, right? I was just kind of go with the flow, and then picking up on these red flags and then being like, oh, I think that I have to get the hell out of here because this is not what I want. But those are also those high standards, right? To be upfront with someone, to know what you deserve, to be like, hey, what is it that we're doing here? So if you're listening to this podcast, I think that you're probably also someone who works on themselves, is aware of their shortcomings, right? So we know that we're not perfect. And so we can also have compassion for other people to be like, yeah, it doesn't really matter what you have been through. I'm just looking at who you are right now, right? And we can work together. We can work on ourselves and grow together. That's at least like my intention when it comes to relationships. It's also the case with my friends and everybody else in my life. Like, I know I'm not perfect, so I'm meeting you where you're at. We also sometimes see the potential in people, right? And we're like, okay, I can see what you can grow into be, and that's why I will like put effort and energy in. But basically what you're doing then is just saying like, I don't like you for who you are right now. I'm only liking you for the potential that you have. I also want to remind you, it could take years for someone to grow into their potential, or potentially never grow into their potential. So you're basically saying like, I only want you if you're like this, and I'm gonna wait around until you grow into that person. Which, like, we want other people to take us as we are as well, right? So it's pretty fucked up to do that, actually. I get it. I've done it myself. You're gonna wait a long time. And so I want you to go for what it is that you truly want. So not that job where people are gossiping and being burned out and you are not being appreciated and respected for the work that you do. I want you to have like the dream job, the top tier, the way out of your league, is that even possible thing? Because it is. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this principle that I talk about, which is like that ladder, how you can get to that high tier criteria dream of yours. And I'm going to be doing that in terms of dating. So I already told you about my contrast experiences. I'm going to now tell you about my friend who has manifested her boyfriend, and she made a list. And so these lists making are a very practical way of stating out what it is that you want. This is about manifesting. So when you are manifesting, you are very clear about what it is that you desire. You also think about how you want to feel, what it looks like. And so my friend, she made this list like a year ago. She was on a retreat in Bali, a manifesting retreat, like, which sounds so cool. I want to go. And she wrote a list of the things that she wants in a partner. I also know Kathrin, manifestation babe, who taught me about manifesting, how she also made this list when she was at an event with Tony Robbins, which you might also know. Great guy. So I now know two people who have made that list and manifested everything on the list. Everything. So she told me about her boyfriend being able to do reiki. So reiki is an energetic healing practice. And I'm like, girl, your boyfriend can do what? Because there aren't many guys that I know that know about energy work or are even like interested in it. And her boyfriend can do reiki. That's such a flex. Oh my God. So I also know like my one of my nieces has this really sweet boyfriend. I love them together, and he can cook. Like, he can really cook. He makes these amazing things. I'm like, when are you going to like live together and invite me for dinner? I want to come. So I am so excited about the potentiality of my list now. I wasn't even thinking about writing reiki, like my partner being able to do reiki on the list. But my friend manifested it, and she had it on her list. So I'm now like, okay, what else can we put on that list? Like, dreaming big, right? So I am now not settling for anything less but my list, because I now know what's possible. And through the contrast, I'm like, okay, my standards are here. I'm not putting up with that shit anymore, which I hope you're not doing that as well. Like, if you've gone through the toxic stuff that I've been through, just know you can get a boyfriend who can do reiki. I think that this is such a funny example because the universe also confirmed to me that this is something that I can get. So how this works is I ask for confirmation from my guides from the universe. If you don't believe in higher power, please still try this because it's such a fun little game that you can do with the universe. So I now have someone who can do reiki on my list as well, right? Or at least like energy work, something like that. That seems fun to me. Also, this list, like you can get everything on the list, but it can also come in different ways than you anticipate, right? It could also be that they have some points of the list, and then when you are together, you see other points of the list also coming true, which you have not seen before, right? It can come in different ways, so you don't have to be so rigid. For example, like if my partner cannot do reiki but has all the other stuff on the list, that's fine as well. Like I can teach them. Then they still have that thing on the list, right? And so I ask for confirmation from the universe that what I want is really out there, it's really possible for me. And the way that I do this is that I just decide that I want something better and I'm open for this. And so I have my list and I'm like, okay, I want this list and I can get it. And that takes some rewiring of your mindset. That's why I have my membership to help you do that, to help you see that you deserve the best of the best. And I help you like let go of the fears of that you don't, because sometimes we are our own worst enemy and we just hold ourselves back, right? And so I play this game with the universe where I ask the universe for signs and to show me like that it's possible. And so this really funny thing happened. That's why I give you the example of the reiki, of the energy work. My boss is giving a course in reiki. He is a spiritual entrepreneur. That's also why I love working with him. And so I decide that I'm going to make some pictures for the website and the social media because we need some updated content, right? And so I'm like, okay, I can like come to the courses that you're giving like this month, right? And so I choose 2 classes that he gives. One is a massage class and then there is this Reiki class. And I'm like, ooh, fun, Reiki. Like, I want to learn more about that as well, right? So it was like a win-win situation. And then there are these guys in that class who are being taught Reiki. And I'm like, universe, I see it. There are cute guys here who do this Reiki stuff. And I thought that there weren't any guys doing that. It's possible, right? And so this was a little wink of the universe to me, like, hey, pay attention. They're out there, which was really fun. And so another example, I had a really fun day with that friend who I told you about. Like, she had talked about her list and manifesting everything on it, and I was like, okay, great. I have like new hope that what I want is possible, that it's coming to me. And I am really like excited about meeting my person, right? And so I go back to the train station to go home. We were in Amsterdam doing a really fun yoga class, lunching together. And so I'm in a really, really good mood. And so this guy walks past me and then he walks back and he's like, okay, I don't want to bother you if you think I'm irritating, like, please just send me away. But I wanted to tell you that I thought you were really pretty, blah, blah, blah. We have this really cute conversation. And, like, I do these little interviews when I get to talk to people. I kind of like want to get their life story out of them in a really short time. And so I learn a lot about this guy. Like, he is also an entrepreneur. He makes furniture, which is a creative thing, which I really like. His brother is a shaman, like spirituality and personal development. There were another few things that were on my list that he had. And so he asked for my number. And I was like, thank you, universe. Like, this is another wink. Like, I get asked for my number randomly. And this guy has some things on my list. Like, what? Is it that easy, right? And I also want you to know, like, divine timing is at play as well, right? I know that 2 years ago, I went through a really big heartbreak. And I was not really ready for something new yet. I think that I'm now only like really getting ready. I also like dated in the meantime to see like if I was ready, because like if you meet someone and it's right, it's right. The funny thing is, the things that I have on my list and also like what the traits that people that I was involved with before, like who I genuinely loved, I don't have them around anymore. because they also had the contrast, the toxic traits. But I, for example, have a friend now who embodies like these two people that I was in love with. And I have her as a friend now. So I don't really have to miss them anymore. I just have everything like that in my friend. And I'm not in love with her. I can just be her friend, which is lovely because I did fall in love with my best friend. Would not recommend, especially when they already have a boyfriend. That's not really a good situation to be in. Talk about contrast. So, for example, I also met this guy and I just felt this familiar feeling of I know you from somewhere, but I don't. It just felt like familiar. And I was like, okay, this is also going to be like a soul connection type of thing. I don't know why, but that's okay. And so time goes by and he just randomly asks me out. He did give me like this really beautiful experience because he was a true gentleman. He really liked me. And so I was treated with a lot of respect and like he was being intentional. That moment really also gave me a lot of healing to be like, okay, like it can be like this. And so sometimes it's not what you want, but it is like that latter moment. So I really hope that you're getting where I'm going with this. And so don't try to only focus on what has been going wrong. I know how easy that is. I know I can get in my head a lot because of these like traumatic experiences that I've been through. But that doesn't mean that you cannot get what it is that you want. If you focus on those latter moments, like those winks from the universe, you can build up this trust and to confirm to yourself like, hey, it's out there. Look for it. Ask for it. Go, like, try it out. See where it goes. And I promise you that you can get what it is that you want. And so, yes, it's hard and it might feel really shitty to step up for what it is that you want, to let these people go. But you do not have to put up with what it is that you don't want, because what you want is really out there. And I've seen this happen over and over and over again. And I hope that through my personal stories, I can like show you like it is really possible. You don't have to put up with people who don't see your value or don't respect you or are not conscious of the fact that their actions have consequences. They do. And so you have to take care of yourself in that way. And that's okay. That's so okay. Don't ever hold yourself back because you don't want other people to feel jealous or insecure or whatever the case may be. I've had a lot of those people in my life, and it's just holding you back from doing the things that you really want to do, from the things that you love, but it's your life. Why would you wait to do what you know that you love, that you know that you deserve? Because every desire that is like born in your heart, every desire, everything that you feel like that's joyful, or that's something that I want to try out, or this just feels really good, I want to explore that. Those are your soul's desires. And you only have those because you're capable of making them come true, those desires. Those are your dreams. And I know this might sound really fluffy, but those lists that I have and the things that I've manifested were those soul's desires. And they have come true. And I know that they will continue to come true because I've already had confirmation from the universe through these winks, from these like latter moments, that it's coming. Because I know that this is what happens all over and over and over again. And so I want you to stretch yourself. I want you to make your list. I already told you in the first episode, like I asked pain in the ass questions. I'm going to be your big sister, but you're going to be grateful that I asked you those questions in the long term. Make a list. No matter if it's a romantic partner that you want, no matter if it's a dream job that you want, no matter if it's a dream business that you want, friendship, travel, whatever the case may be, I want you to dream bigger. I want you to challenge yourself to feel what it is that you really want. To really listen to your heart and be honest about it. Not to shy away from those big dreams, those big desires. I used to think that nobody wanted me because I had some experiences in the past that made me believe that. I now get asked for my number from a random guy. Like, tell my 15-year-old self that and she would laugh at you. It's all in your head. It's all in your head. You are your own worst enemy. Really. And so I don't want you to hold yourself back any longer. I want you to get what it is that you want because you get to have it. Just because you have the desire, just because you have the dream, means that you can have it. And let me remind you also that it might not look the way that you think that it's going to look. Like the job that I have right now, I could not have imagined getting it the way that I got it. Or like friends that I've met, like I could not have thought that I would meet those friends in the way that I did. For example, I ran into an old friend at a workshop that an old friend of mine gave, and now we are like back to being friends. She was an old friend. I could not have thought about that happening. Like the friend that I told you about, I met her at a job as well. We were co-workers, right? So you never really know how things are going to unfold, but you can have the list, you can have the desires and be like, yeah, these are my standards. Also, the way that you are going to get what it is that you want is to say no to everything that isn't what it is that you want, and to say yes to the things that are what it is that you want. For example, the people that I've let go, I said no to them because they were not what it was that I wanted. They might have been a little bit what I wanted, but they weren't really what I wanted. There just was too much contrast. And so, yes, you can have what you want on your list and it can look a little bit different, but you can still have it. But also, if there is too much contrast, if there are too many things that are not like your list, I give the example of the list, but it doesn't have to be like this really big list of things that you require in people. It can just be like, I want to feel like this when I'm with my partner, my friend, whoever. And if they make me feel like this and this and this, then that's not what I want. So I want you to be clear with yourself on what you're accepting and what you are needing, what you are desiring. And if it's not in line with that, if it's not in alignment with what it is that you really want, say no. Say no to everything that isn't what you want. Say yes to everything that is what you want. And that's how you create your dream life. And you get to say no to the things that don't fulfill you, that aren't what you want. You don't have to settle for anything less. I thought that my dream job was at that big company where I worked for 3 months. It wasn't, and that's okay. I didn't have a job for 2 months before I manifested my dream job after that. You don't know how it's going to happen, but you can say no because it's not what you want. That's okay, because you can get what it is that you want. And I'm not gonna tell you to resign from your job right now or break up with your partner, but do really think about what it is that you need and how you are showing up for yourself, how available you are for the things that you want, or how you are maybe holding yourself back, thinking that you don't deserve it, or it's not out there, or it's not possible. It is out there and it is possible. Maybe try to play this game with the universe as well, to request those little wings, to build that ladder of trust, to move up a step, move up a step, move up a step to see that it's possible. And in the meantime, say no to everything that isn't what you want. Because if you say yes and you settle for less, you are closing that door, closing off that road. While maybe there is another road opening up that takes you exactly where you want to go. And so you have to create space. You have to stay open for the things that you want. And that requires not settling. That requires saying no sometimes. And that's hard. But I want to remind you through this podcast that you get to have what it is that you want. You just do. So my question is, what is it that you want? Be honest about it. And then the other part of this manifestation process is, am I the person that gets to receive what it is that I want? For example, the partner that I want, who do I have to be for them? So am I showing up for myself? Am I taking good care of myself? Am I working on myself? I want my partner to show up for themselves. I want my partner to take good care of themselves. And they will probably want me to do the same as well, right? To be honest about what it is that I want, what I don't want, to keep growing, to have hobbies, to have fun with friends, to do what I love. Who do I have to be for my dream partner? Because that way you can really attract it, because you're already at that place where you can meet each other at that level. And so it's also like, who do I need to become in order to attract it? Who did I need to become to attract that dream job? I just needed to be that business owner that educated herself through watching these YouTube tutorials and teaching myself all these things. That's how I got those jobs. I put in the work. And so who do you need to be for your dream? Are you already being that person? So what can really help with imagining who this person is just to visualize your dream already coming true and to just see yourself already having it, already experiencing it, already feeling it. And then asking that person, like, what do I need to become you? And you just see what answers you get. So in the beginning of this podcast, I already told you about this meditation, the soul vision meditation. This is exactly what we do in this meditation. I take you through this process to find out who that person is. And so you can really see them. You can ask them these questions so you can become them. And also to get clear on what it is that you want. You can really feel into your soul, your heart, like those dreams, those desires. And so that makes it easier to make that list, to dream bigger, to feel like, yeah, it's possible. Because your soul already knows that it's possible. That's why you have these dreams in the first place. Just think of something that you've manifested. You knew that you wanted to do that, right? You knew that you wanted to experience that within your whole body. And that's why you have been growing towards it. And that's why you've manifested it. You can do that again with a lot of stuff. That's how I manifest the most of the things in my life. It's not to be cocky. It's just to be like, you get to have what it is that you want. I really, truly believe that. And I wish for you to experience that for yourself. It's just about being clear about what you desire, them growing into that person who is already there and not settling for anything less. That was the podcast for today. I really hope that you are inspired to dream a little bit bigger. If that's the case, then my mission is completed with this episode. If you had any aha moments, let me know. I love to hear from you. Share this podcast on Insta, DM me to really help me get the word out, to share this podcast with your friends, with your coworkers who you know need to hear this message as well. That will really help me out to get other people to listen to this podcast as well. I really appreciate you. Thank you for spending your time and energy with me. And until next time, bye.